DotsandLines here again. Welcome back, folks. On today's episode, we travel to a time of myth and legend. Ancient Egypt, nearly 6,000 years ago, taking a different approach than modern-day archaeologists. We'll explore sites like the Osirion Temple, the Tomb of Osiris, Nabta Playa, Machu Picchu, and many more. We'll uncover ancient esoteric knowledge, ancient Egyptian folklore myths and legends, aligned with modern marvels and megalithic mysteries, all while uncovering never before publicly revealed Egyptian artifacts. Join me as we dive deep into the secrets of Osiris. Ancient Egypt, circa 4000 BC. During the dawn of civilization, a land birthing legends and myths that span the sands of time, rose to power the most important and mirrored culture in history till this day. A people renowned for their architectural wonders, mystical culture, extraordinary arithmetic, and their study of science, philosophy, and magic. They were the first civilization to document and attest to an afterlife and the resurrection of the dead through spiritual practices. The Book of the Dead, as they called it, an amalgamation of ancient papyri which depicted a journey of the soul through the underworld they called the throught. Amongst these great ancient texts reveals a being of divine and supernatural origin, dwelling beneath the surface of the sands, ruling over a world unseen, the most famous and ancient of Egyptian deities, the pharaoh they called Osiris, also known as the Lord of the Underworld. Osiris, the Egyptian god of the afterlife, death, resurrection, and fertility, was the first pharaoh ever, bringing civilization and agriculture to Egypt. Overseeing the afterlife, he judged the souls of the dead and was associated with the annual flooding of the Nile and regeneration of crops. The oldest depiction of Osiris lies painted upon the Amduat papyrus, a story of the journey of one's soul through the afterlife. This papyrus is a specific depiction of the weighing of a heart ritual performed in the afterlife. Unefer places his heart on the scales of Anubis, weighed against the feather of the goddess Ma'at. Below crouches Amit, the devourer of the damned, if one's heart is not pure. the god Thoth eternally scribes the outcome of the weighing, allowing Hunefa passage. Horus conducts him to Osiris, granting his blessing through into the afterlife. And so, the divine light envelopes the pharaoh. Effulgent is the soul. I am Osiris in the underworld. I am Ra in the heavens. And I am Atum in the beginning, the first one and the only one. Now, how does Osiris connect to the olfactory system, you say? Well, aside from it being a specialized sensory system every living creature possesses, it's responsible for the sense of smell and enabling detection of airborne chemicals. Just like Osiris, it is the oldest and most primitive of its kind and sensory modalities. All like the everlasting resurrecting one, unlike other nerve cells, olfactory neurons are constantly replaced throughout life. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let us take a dive deeper into the olfactory system and how it works. Olfaction, or smelling, begins with hair-like cilia that line the nasal cavity. This lining is called the olfactory epithelium. As air enters the nasal cavity, some chemicals in the air bind to and activate nervous system receptors on the cilia. This stimulus sends a signal to the first-order neurons connected to the epithelial cells. The signal is carried by these neurons from the nasal cavity through openings in the ethmoid bone and then to the olfactory bulbs in the brain. Signals then move from the bulbs along to the olfactory tracts to the olfactory area of the cerebral cortex. This process bypasses the thalamus, which is the brain's main relay station for sensory information, allowing for rapid emotional and memory-based reactions to smells, often before conscious identification. Now, fascinating connection I found between this system and Osiris is the location and format of the olfactory system and Osiris's iconic depiction. If you look closely, you can see Osiris and his details perfectly aligned with the olfactory system from an inferior view. Also, this would mean that Osiris is physically seated right above the fourth ventricle, exactly where the cerebellum lives, but ironically enough, where the cerebral spinal fluid fluctuates in and out. Scientists still debate on what exactly moves this fluid in and out of our brain chambers, but it matches reoccurring themes of Osiris's throne and tomb submerged in re-emerging water, along with other striking resemblances. The Orion constellation associated with Osiris and the DMT molecule, or the pineal gland shape, just like Osiris's bust. Now, were these just cosmic coincidences, or were the Egyptians adept in human anatomy far beyond modern-day science? Alright, so don't forget this flat summit. We'll get back to that later. For now, I would like you to focus on the tomb of Osiris. It is a deeply submerged chamber about 100 feet deep beneath the Giza Plateau. Discovered in 1932 by Egyptian archaeologist Selim Hassan and later excavated in 1999 by Zahi Hawass, which required mass water pumping to reach the third level, which still remains submerged to this day. Astonishing modern-day archaeologists with its architectural feats and anomalies since the water was reduced to the third level. Now, before you travel 30 meters deep and reach Osiris's submerged sarcophagus, you are greeted on the second level, a room with 6 chambers and 2 shafts. Within 2 of these chambers reside 2 granite and dacite sarcophagi weighing about 40 tons each, which would have been impossible to reconstruct and even fit through the shafts. Although they were empty with no sign of human remains, the second level actually did contain broken pottery dated stylistically to the 6th and 26th dynasty, alongside human bones. An interesting fact about this discovery is that it was specifically only the right side of human body parts, according to a study made in 2022 by orthopedics. Could offering the right side of the body to Osiris have been part of a ritualistic practice? Who knows? The mystery is still unsolved. Here we have the bones and the broken pottery discovered, or at least what's left. Another baffling mystery is the second sarcophagus made with dacite, which is so scarce in Egypt that even if you travel to 3 other sites that are over 100 miles away each, you wouldn't even have enough to make the sarcophagus, meaning it must have came from a different continent or subterranean quarry unknown to man. Also, if you look closely at the groove marks of the walls, you can see tool marks, long circular grooves diagonally down the walls and across the surface. What ancient tool did the beings that built this structure use is still a mystery today. Here we have an opening to the 3rd lowest level of the Osiris Shaft. And when you reach the 3rd level, where the 3rd sarcophagus is submerged in a bed of still water, that never runs dry, you see the 4 pillars, or at least what's left, surrounding Osiris's tomb. The only other thing here, besides the rubble, is a tiny shaft, small enough to fit a GoPro, that leads to another hidden chamber, yet to be excavated. And once you enter the water, you will notice it has remained leveled despite archaeologists' attempt to remove it, much like the water at the Osirion Temple. This is because the water inside is fed by a continuous flow of natural groundwater and deep aquifer sources. Another component to what makes the architectural design of this chamber an anomaly. What beings would consciously make their building process harder by creating the foundation underwater? So, remember that missing summit I told you about? Well, according to Roy Hoffhein's 1851 encyclopedia, there's photos of the Great Pyramids with statues at the top. And not just that, but they were engulfed in water. The only way to travel to them was by boat, as documented as late as the 1800s, even dating back to the records of Herodotus, who spoke of the pyramids of Giza surrounded by water with colossal statues atop each pyramid in a rich, lush land. Where did these statues go? And who would have built such grand structures within water? The construction itself would have been impossible for humans to build, despite the technology used. And what you'll notice if you look closely to the illustrations of the pyramids from the 1800s is that the statues upon these pyramids greatly resemble the depictions of Osiris upon his throne, accompanied by another pharaoh, spawning the question, who were the pharaohs and what happened to these statues? The Orion constellation holds heavy significance to the pyramids and Osiris specifically. This is not due to the misconception of the alignment of the stars and the pyramids directly, which has been a widespread false assumption. In fact, the only time the constellations held any alignment to the Great Pyramid was between 2495 and 2450 BC. And it was through the shafts. The star Alnitak, part of Orion's belt, aligned with the southern shaft of the king's chamber. The same shaft ancient Egyptians said were used to direct the pharaoh's spirit. A Bible verse mentions, "Can you bind the clusters of the Pleiades, or loosen Osirion's belt? Bring out the signs of the zodiac in their season, or guide Aldebaran and its satellite stars? Did you proclaim the rules that govern the heavens or determine the laws of nature on earth?" The verse details God challenging Job by highlighting human limitations compared to his own cosmic power. This verse captures the essence of the astrological dominance Orion's belt holds in the history, penetrating religion. Although the pyramids do not directly align with Orion's belt, they match perfectly with the map of the three-star constellation, which you will see used at other ancient locations in megalithic structures, including structures like the Osirion Temple. Unlike conventional temples built by the ancient Egyptians, lives a structure so complex for over 126 years scientists and archaeologists have yet to uncover its true mystery. First uncovered by Margaret Murray and Hilda Petrie in 1900, in contrast to standard symmetrical structures erected in structure, lies a temple beneath ground level south of the peculiar L-shaped temple of Seti, drawing attention to its intended purpose and cultural context in which it was built. Constructed from massive monolithic blocks of pink granite, limestone, and red Aswan granite from a quarry of over 300 miles away, with some weighing up to 100 tons, baffles architects since, according to research, it was constructed underwater. Bearing absolutely no inscriptions except the flower of life etched on a pillar, research shows the temple continues 50 feet below ground level, submerged in a natural groundwater aquifer, which has troubled excavators for over a century, failing to remove and suppress the inflowing water from the ground beneath the temple. In 1912, Swiss archaeologist Edouard Neville was sponsored by the Egyptian Exploration Fund to clear the Osirion. Working on this project, stopping in only 2 years in 1914 due to the inflow of water and more so because the start of World War I. Clearing majority of the site from debris, mud, stones, and rubble, trying to reach the temple's foundation. Although, with all the tools provided, they could not move the red granite monolithic blocks that mysteriously came from the Aswan quarry over 300 miles away. The same quarry that displays the famous unfinished obelisk weighing nearly 1,200 tons. Now keep this in mind because it plays a key indicator to my theory to how these structures were formed and moved by the ancient world architects. Adding to the lore of the Osirion conjoins the story of Dorothy Seti, aka Seti, translating to the mother of Seti in Egyptian. Dorothy claims to be a reincarnation of Seti and vividly writes and remembers walking through the halls of the Osirion as well as ancient rituals. She prophesies that one day the mysteries of Abydos may be investigated and uncover even greater truth than the discovery of King Tut's tomb by a patient archaeologist. I believe that archaeologist was Jim Westerman.
So the water outside the Osirion, in other words, the water he's standing in, is 16.9 centigrade. But the water inside the pipe is 23.8 centigrade. That's a significant difference. So that's an interesting fact, right? The sixth, water inside the open pipe is warmer than the ambient water outside the pipe. This is just a metal pipe. This appears to be a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. Heat cannot of itself pass from a cold to a hot body.
Studying the Osirion quite longer than any other group, Jim's exhibitions uncovered fascinating anomalies, including the discovery of a hook bearing strong resemblance to a hook depicted in a hieroglyph of Osiris. Jim claims to have pulled the hook from beneath the water after a tug of war from something deep beneath the surface. Jim even claims the water itself had healing properties.
It had beneficial effects for my eyesight. I used to wear glasses. I drank this one season. I drank gallons and gallons of this stuff. And I went in, and my driver's license was up for renewal, and you have to take an eye test. Since I was a kid, I was nearsighted, and my glasses were bothering me after this exercise with the water, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm getting older, my eyes have changed, but I took the eye test, and the woman said, you don't need to wear glasses. And I still don't. I just took my driver's test, eye test a couple of weeks ago, and ever since I drank this water, my eyes have gotten better for some reason.
Modern-day Peru. Almost 8,000 miles away from Egypt stands the most marvelous ancient structures with the same architectural signature of the Osirion. Megalithic blocks of white granite and volcanic andesite cut and polished to fit so perfectly, not even a knife blade can fit between them. Being held together entirely by gravity and the precise interlocking of the stones, spanning across multiple sites all over Peru. These blocks, as well as the granite blocks found at the Osirion, carry the same features of being once softened out by tools, displaying the famous scoop marks and famous nubs. This same effect can be found on the stones of Stonehenge. One site that gives insight to the excavation of these megalithic stones is at the Aswan Quarry of Egypt. Cradling an unfinished obelisk weighing 1,200 tons and engulfing a whopping 137 feet of land, the same land used to build the blocks located at the Giza Pyramid and the Osirion Temple. But even further than the pyramids, all over the world, these building techniques are found at ancient sites. Could the ancient ones obtained universal architectural knowledge that they applied to these structures, and by whom's assistance? Nabta Playa, an ancient archaeological site in Egypt's Nubian desert, considered the world's oldest known astronomical observatory, predating Stonehenge by about 2,000 years. The stones are believed to map a specific layout of star patterns, particularly of the Orion constellation. Starting to see the connection yet? The upright stones were aligned to track the sun and signal the arrival of summer monsoons. It was a practical tool, a calendar written in stone used by the ancient Egyptians, keeping time and a guide when to plant and when to harvest. This was not by luck, but rather divine wisdom. The structure not only aligned perfectly astrologically, but as well with other megalithic sites, depicting Orion's constellation perfectly with the Giza pyramids and the Osirion Temple. What draws my attention to these locations is the surrounding waters. Whether a river or a larger body of water, neither are ever too far from any of these sites that map the stars as well. Coincidence? Or does this play a major role in the development of these megalithic structures? This brings me to an ancient Egyptian urban legend of a mysterious water spirit who calls men to the Nile River at night. El Nadaha, meaning the caller in Arabic, was also known as the Siren of the Nile, waiting by the banks of the Nile to pull in curious men, luring them to their demise in the belly of the Nile. What does this have to do with Osiris, you ask? Well, located in the Temple of Seti is a hieroglyph of what looks to be a merman. At first, I didn't think it was possible, considering ancient Egyptians depicted prisoners and slaves in this position, bounded by the legs and arms with rope. But this one was different. It had both arms free and only one visible leg, as well as this one wearing the Atef crown, a sign of royalty. With no ropes in sight, surely this wasn't a mistake, and the Egyptians were documenting what they saw. And just like the Nile River currently does, so did the Euphrates River once pour into the Mediterranean Sea, connecting both channels at one point. These structures and tunnels were discovered after 2020 when the Euphrates River dried out and revealed ancient subterranean tunnels. Could ancient humans have made contact and received teachings from an even greater and ancient civilization that wasn't human but still native to our planet? Beneath the surface of the running waters lie hidden and far more advanced species that changed the course of human evolution and history from a distance. Or were they closer than we can ever imagine? What civilization would make all the trouble of building such complex and precise astrological structures beneath the water or even with water interfering? Could Osiris have been one of these beings and not just a mythological figure? Could Osiris have been an amphibious being that dwelled beneath the water and occasionally contacted beings on land to share sacred and ancient knowledge? Very similar to the Osirion god Oannes, a half-fish, half-man that taught humans the foundation of a proper civilization. If so, they would be technically mammals with technology, like us, just aquatic, hidden deep beneath the ocean, like current mammals are, and rarely spotted near the surface. Could humans be the descendants of a long-lost aquatic ancestor that we have lost contact with? Equivalent to elephants and whales.
You know, things are under the water. And, you know, supposedly the craft that the sport model was an archaeological recovery. An archaeological and that itself was underwater. So what is the deal with the water? I mean, it's by far the biggest medium of the planet. I mean, if you want to hide people down there, almost an entire civilization down there, you could do it in the ocean, as long as you do it deep enough and away from people. So, yeah, number one is, what's the deal with the ocean? That's probably the number one question.
And that is the number one question, folks. But I hope you follow up with a few other questions, and with the facts that I propose here. 1. Are there aquatic beings, and are they ancestral to us? Did they have enough time to make advanced technology so advanced that we were just discovering the remains of their structures? 2. Where are they, and do they still remain in contact with us? If so, are they manipulating things from behind the scene? And does our government know about this? I like to think that they do, and it's all being hidden from us, amongst many other things. But these type of facts cannot be denied. You must look within. Until next time.